In this video, I want to talk about isolation spirits. As you know, I make remind videos for you, and I don't talk often about the demonic. You know why I don't talk that often about the demonic? Because I'm here to invest in you. I'm not an occultist that's using the name of Christ to lead you into the occult. No. I'm here to invest in you. That also implies I need to inform you. Because you can't invest in people without informing them. But I inform you in a Christ-centered manner. I give you the bigger picture. About isolation spirits. These demons, or paranormal parasites, their purpose, what they want to do, is to isolate you from the blessings of God. How will this happen? First of all, isolation spirits work primarily on unbelievers to prevent them from being blessed. Because the only way unbelievers can be blessed is when they find Christ and agree with Christ. What isolation spirits also do is causing friction between believers and unbelievers. Not because the isolation spirit cares about the growth of the believer. No. The isolation spirit wants to prevent the unbeliever from experiencing the love of God through the believer. You get what I'm saying here? But okay, how do those entities operate? Okay, let me give a parable. Let's say you have, I'm going to use a female example now, Jessica. Jessica, she's, let me say 30. She has a boyfriend, she has a job, but she feels alone all the time. She's been feeling alone since she was 14 years old. And she can't figure out why she feels alone. Now what has happened? When she was 14, she was at high school, and there were some believers around, teenagers that were born again. But this Jessica comes from a broken home, and she had a spirit of rejection with her. But because there were believers around, the spirit of rejection lost its power. So what happened was that the spirit of rejection became angry and frustrated. And demons amongst one another, they tend to come with plans. So the spirit of rejection, we began to murmur and complain that he lost his host. But then the spirit of confusion said, you know what, don't worry, we'll figure this out. The spirit of confusion couldn't attach itself to Jessica at the time. It was too dangerous for the spirit to even try it. So the spirit of isolation came. And the spirit of isolation simply caused her to lose interest in the people that were good for her. She just felt disconnected with the people just like that. And because she was quite emotional, don't get me wrong, females tend to be emotional, that's how they're designed, but there's a thing as toxic emotional, when your emotionality is out of line. That was going on with her. So because she was emotional, out of line, she didn't realize that this sense of disconnection was abnormal. But she agreed with it. So she lost interest in the people that were a good influence on her. And this sense of disconnection also led to her wanting to find other people to connect with, because as a human being, you urge for connection. That's a natural thing. So the spirit of isolation then began to draw people to her, and the spirit of isolation gave her these warm feelings when those people were around. So Jessica thought, you know what, these are my friends, these are the people I should be around. Now what happened? Over time, she only hung out with those people, with no one else. So she isolated from, society as a whole. She isolated from relatives, she isolated from, everyone else. She only had those few people she hung out with. They became her besties, her best friends. Now, there's nothing wrong with having so-called best friends as females. I'm not going into that. But it gets out of line when it isolates you from everyone else. This Jessica didn't realize it. But of course, She graduated from college, she got a job, and those friendships dissolved. Now, she was left with this hole of disconnection. So, what was going on? The spirit of isolation, together with the spirit of rejection, were both there. And the spirit of rejection was happy that isolation helped him out. But then rejection realized, hold on a minute. Her eyes are now open. She realizes that she wastes a lot of time spending with those so-called besties who don't even care about her anymore. But then isolation said, don't worry, I got this. The spirit of isolation, together with another spirit of isolation, draw a man into her life, which became her boyfriend. So now she was isolated again, but in a so-called romantic relationship. I say so-called. That's how the spirit of isolation operated, or isolation spirit, however you want to label it. That's what those entities do. Now, why am I recording about the spirit of isolation or isolation spirits? It's because this is an entity people don't notice. Look, the spirit of confusion, you can notice, is outworking. You have the smooth success that covers up the confusion and the destruction. The Python spirit, man, you can see that immediately, because Python spirit knows no mercy. That entity just eats your life source and drains you and kills you directly. The spirit of rejection is a bit more subtle, you don't realize it directly, but the spirit of isolation, people don't notice it because this entity isolates you differently than how people expect. When people hear the word isolation, they think of lunars, people that move away from society into the woods, living uncivilized, or they think of people that go to uninhabited islands on the Pacific just to be away from everyone. That's what people think of the word isolation. In a social sense, the meaning of that word is true, but isolation isn't just remove yourself physically from other people towards an uninhabited island or into the forest or anything in that direction. Isolation also implies that you're locked up in an environment or in relationships in which you can't grow and in which you are stuck. And here's the thing, you don't know you're stuck. But this entity keeps you there to prevent you from noticing the blessings that Christ offers. Why? Because the spirit of isolation grants you a counterfeit. And the spirit of rejection is there to keep you there because you don't want to feel rejected, you want to lose those people. I hope I informed you how isolation spirits operate. So it can be that maybe at the workplace, I don't just want to use examples of high school or of college. Let's say at the workplace, you have this colleague who's quite popular. He works well, he gets the best results, the boss is very happy with him. Really, everyone's happy with him. And you think, man, that guy has it all. What has happened? It can be, I'm not saying this is the case, but it can be that he has an isolation spirit. This entity provides some success for him, but keep him trapped at that job. Because it can be that that man has an anointing on his life, if he's a believer. I'm not saying he is, but if he's a believer and he's there, it can be that he has an anointing on his life to make music. And he has interest in music, but because he's so good in sales, that isolation spirit causes him to feel so at home in the sales, and the isolation spirit causes success for him over there so that he will never do what he's called to do. If it's an unbeliever, and demons don't really know what God's purpose is for that individual, the demons want to keep the individual with that smooth success so that the individual will never think he or she needs Christ. So again, isolation spirits are spirits that isolate people when it's an unbeliever, to prevent them from experiencing the love of God through believers or noticing the glory of God in any shape or form. And this is done through locking someone up in relationships or in environments where they can't grow and where they stagnate. Or if it's a believer that's not delivered, the isolation spirit wants to keep them trapped in a certain level of growth. This can be done through pagan churches in which you join the church, but the pastor keeps preaching the same message over and over again in different forms. So nothing new is being revealed unto you. You go year in, year out. Every Sunday you go to church, but there's no change. Things even gets worse. But you're being told, no, you just need to trust the Lord, you trust the Lord, but you never talk about the deep stuff to edify you. That's also how the spirit of isolation works on believers. Or the spirit of isolation may bring certain relationships to you, which those relationships are not harmful in themselves, because those people don't mean you harm, but those relationships distract you, so you won't be able to grow. So they hinder your growth by providing kind relationships to you. Those people that the demon will attract onto you do not mean you harm, they may even mean you well, but those people are not delivered, they don't look at the bigger picture, so the demon is using them to draw your attention to those people. And what happens after a while? Some of those people suddenly become upset with you. And you think, what did I do wrong? And what happens now? Your attention is away from Christ. Now you are thinking how I'm going to make up with them. What did I do wrong? That's also how the spirit of isolation works. Well, this video has become 11 minutes already. I did not intend to make the video this long, but I hope you are informed now how isolation spirits operate. And I'm telling you, these entities also did their projects on me. Of course they did. When you follow Christ, those entities come after you. And I didn't notice it immediately that there was a spirit of isolation working. But because I kept agreeing with Christ and remained in prayer, I'm getting to notice things didn't add up with the people that were so-called thrown onto me. And I realized, it's an entity working. I did not turn on those people. Those people often aren't even aware of what's going on, that demons are using them, but I realized that this was happening. And there were times I did not see it, but the Holy Spirit just removed people from me. Look, as a believer, you ought to walk in love towards everyone. You ought to have loving relationships with others, but you can't have loving relationships with everyone. That's practically not possible, because you won't be able to meet everyone that walks on the earth. You have billions of people, so of course it's not going to happen. But even those in your environment, you can't walk in love with everyone, because not everyone wants to operate in love. Some people are in darkness and they don't want to admit they are in darkness, or even if they admit it, they want to justify being in darkness. Such people enable danger, so you can't walk in love with them. Well, that's it for now. I create Christ and be at peace.